They don't raise their voice, they don't raise a hand, but they destroy you one subtle sentence at a time. You've changed. So now you think you're better than us. Why are you being so sensitive? These words don't shout. They whisper, and those whispers echo in your head until you start questioning your worth. Not because you're weak, but because you lack psychological boundaries. Stoicism doesn't teach you to fight toxic people. It teaches you how to become untouchable. And in this video, you'll discover 7 Stoic psychological walls built not with bricks, but with discipline. 1. I am not a reflex to other people's emotions. The first instinct when someone attacks us: react, defend, explain, prove we're right. But that's the trap. Toxic people don't need to win the argument. They just need to win your emotions. Because once they control how you feel, they control how you act, and that's when they win without lifting a finger. They'll push your buttons not because they're right, but because they want to watch you spiral. They want you flustered, apologizing, trying to be understood, caught in a cycle of guilt and self-doubt. Not because you're weak, but because you're still programmable. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "If someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation." What does that mean? It means you always have a choice. You can let them in or not. And when you choose not to react, you're sending a silent but powerful message. You don't get to control me, not today, not ever. In a world that trains us to be emotionally reactive, to clap back, to argue our worth, Stoic self-command is rebellion. It's not about being cold, it's about being unshakable. Here's how to train it. When someone tries to provoke you, pause. Just 5 seconds can change the outcome of the entire exchange. Then breathe. Let the emotional wave pass before you speak. And if you do respond, say something that closes the loop, not opens a debate. Instead of, "That's not true," try, "You're free to believe what you want." Let them talk in circles. You stay rooted like a mountain. That's not weakness. That's psychological power. When you stop being a mirror to someone else's chaos, you stop being their puppet. Because the strongest person in any room isn't the one who speaks loudest. It's the one who doesn't flinch. 2. The power of silence. In a world obsessed with noise, the quiet ones are the most dangerous. Not because they have nothing to say, but because they know what's worth saying and what's not. Toxic people feed on one thing: your emotional reaction. If you yell, they smile. If you cry, they feel powerful. If you argue, they've already won. But when you remain calm, when your face doesn't change, when your voice doesn't rise, they start to panic. Why? Because they've lost their favorite weapon, your reactivity. You see, manipulators don't thrive on facts. They thrive on access. And silence? Silence is the gate you close in their face. It doesn't mean you're avoiding the problem. It means you're rising above it. You're sending a quiet message. This drama, this performance, I'm no longer in the audience. How to master this boundary? Learn to sit with discomfort. Not everything needs an instant answer. Practice holding your tongue. Breathe. Let the silence stretch. Let them feel the void. Let them wrestle with the awkwardness, not you. And when provoked, remember, I don't play chess with chaos. This isn't passive aggression. It's self-command. You're not being cold. You're choosing clarity over chaos. You're not retreating. You're reclaiming your peace. Because silence true, grounded silence is not empty. It's full of intention. And here's the twist. No manipulator expects. When you stop responding, they lose their script. They don't know what to say next. They start projecting, unraveling, exposing their insecurity. Meanwhile, you remain a still force. When you can look someone in the eye and say nothing, when you can walk away without needing the last word, you've just demonstrated a level of power they can't touch. Silence is not the absence of strength. It is the presence of mastery. 3. Strategic unavailability, the power of not being there. You are not a 24/7 emotional help desk. But toxic people will treat you like one. They expect instant replies, instant validation, instant access to your thoughts, your energy, your peace. And the more available you are, the more entitled they feel to invade your mind. But here's the Stoic truth. You lose power the moment you become too easy to reach. Manipulators thrive in your availability. They study your response times. They learn your emotional rhythms. They call when they know you're busiest. They trauma dump when they know you need rest. Why? Because they don't respect your time you've never taught them to. Being constantly available is not kindness. It's exposure. And exposure without discernment is how you get drained, distracted, and emotionally hijacked. So what's the antidote? Strategic unavailability. You don't disappear, you reposition, you no longer offer unlimited access. Your time becomes sacred, your energy becomes guarded. Here's how to build this boundary. Delay your response. Just because they text doesn't mean you reply immediately. Protect your focus. Set do not disturb hours. Make space for deep work, reflection, and recovery. Stop explaining your silence. You don't owe emotional invoices for every quiet moment. Be clear. Say it once. I'm not available for this right now. Calm, direct, final. At first, they'll protest. They'll say you've changed, that you're distant, that you're selfish. But what they really mean is, you're no longer emotionally dependent on my chaos, and that scares me. And that's not your burden to carry. Because when you make yourself rare, you become respected by the right people, feared by the manipulators, and protected from emotional sabotage. Remember this. Your peace is not a public utility. Your presence is not a right. It's a privilege earned by those who honor it. 4. No is a complete sentence. The most powerful word you can say in a toxic interaction is also the shortest. Number. No explanation, no defense, no emotional footnotes. Just number. But here's the problem. We're conditioned to believe that no is rude, that we must justify it, that we owe people reasons, excuses, soft landings. So we say, I'd love to, but I can't, because I don't feel comfortable, but maybe next time. I'm sorry, it's just that and just like that, we've opened the door for negotiation. And manipulators, they love negotiation. Because the more you explain, the more they twist. The more you defend, the more they invade. But a Stoic doesn't argue over boundaries. A Stoic enforces them silently, firmly, without guilt. No is not cruel. No is not unkind. No is self-respect made verbal. Here's how to build this boundary. 1. Pre-commit to your limits. Know what you will and won't tolerate before the pressure comes. 2. Speak calmly and briefly. No, I'm not available for that. Period. 3. Expect resistance and don't flinch. Let their discomfort stay with them. 4. Feel the guilt, but don't obey it. Guilt is not always truth. It's just a reflex you've been trained to feel. 5. Validate yourself. Say it to yourself if you must. My peace does not require their approval. Because if you always explain your boundaries, you turn them into suggestions. And manipulators don't respect suggestions, they exploit them. So the next time someone asks, why can't you just, or can't we talk about it like adults? Say this silently, internally, or aloud. No is not the beginning of a debate. It is the end of the transaction. And walk away. In a world full of people-pleasers, the one who can say no without trembling is a rare force. And in Stoicism, rarity is power. 5. Be unpredictable. Become unbreakable. Toxic people don't just manipulate with words. They manipulate with patterns. They watch you, study you. They learn what triggers you. They know which guilt trip makes you cave, which insult makes you defend, which silence makes you beg for closeness. To them, you're not a person, you're a script. And as long as you stay predictable, they stay in control. But the moment you break that script, when you stop reacting on cue, you become a mystery. And to the manipulator, mystery is terrifying, because they don't know what to expect. And when they can't predict you, they can't program you. Here's how you reclaim your power. 1. Audit your emotional reflexes. What's your default response to guilt, to anger, to being ignored? Write it down, then break that pattern. 2. Introduce intentional silence. If they expect you to argue, say nothing. If they expect you to chase, stay still. If they expect you to explain, walk away. 3. Speak in calm, disarming questions. Not emotionally charged reactions. Try. What makes you say that? What are you hoping I'll feel right now? These questions flip the power dynamic. You stop being the puppet, and you become the observer. 4. Let misunderstanding exist. You don't have to clarify everything. Some people deserve your silence more than your explanation. 5. Train detachment like a muscle. Meditate, journal, practice breathing under pressure. Not to feel less, but to respond less. Remember, predictability is comfort for manipulators. Unpredictability is your fortress. And the Stoics knew this well. They trained not to suppress emotion, but to respond only by reason, not reflex. So next time someone tries to push your buttons and they expect the usual spark, give them stillness. Because in that stillness, you become unreadable. And unreadable is unbreakable. 6. Guard your story. Selective exposure is power. Your story is sacred. But when you hand it to the wrong person, it becomes a weapon. Toxic people are emotional hackers. They don't just listen, they collect. They listen for your doubts, your insecurities, your pain points. Not to understand you, but to use you. Every detail you overshare, every wound you uncover, too soon gives them a backdoor into your mind. And once they have access, they start rewriting the narrative, but in their favor. That's why Stoics practiced emotional minimalism. Not because they didn't feel, but because they refused to bleed in front of wolves. You can be kind without being an open book. You can be sincere without oversharing. You can be warm and still be strategic. Here's how to protect your emotional privacy. 1. Delay disclosure. Don't rush to reveal. Test for consistency, maturity, and respect before sharing personal truths. 2. Mirror before you open. If someone rarely shares about themselves, ask why. Intimacy should be reciprocal, not extracted. 3. Use purposeful ambiguity. You don't have to lie, just don't explain. I'm working on a few things right now. That's enough. 4. Observe how they treat others' secrets. If they gossip about someone else to you, they'll gossip about you to someone else. 5. Reserve vulnerability for safe containers. Vulnerability is sacred. Share it only with those who've earned your trust, not those who demand it. Not everyone deserves every layer of you. The Stoic approach isn't emotional coldness. It's emotional discernment. Because what is rare becomes respected, and what is always available becomes exploited. So the next time someone pushes for more of your time, more of your truth, more of your soul, ask yourself, have they earned it or just expected it? Your energy is not free. Your story is not public. And your peace is not up for negotiation. 7. Redirect, don't react. The Stoic art of frame control. Some people don't want resolution, they want reaction. They don't ask questions to understand. They ask to trap you in a script where they are the victim. And you become the villain who must defend, explain, and justify. Sound familiar? You've changed. So now you're too good to talk to me. Why are you being distant lately? These aren't real questions. They're hooks. Each one designed to pull you into their emotional frame, a place where you lose your calm and they gain control. But Stoicism offers a different approach. Don't react, redirect. You don't have to fight the narrative. You just have to refuse to play the role they've written for you. Here's how you practice Stoic redirection. Stay calm. Don't let tone, guilt, or sarcasm dictate your state. Don't argue the intention, replace. That's not what I meant. With. I'm not here to debate intentions. I'm here to grow. Speak with clarity. Instead of defending your boundaries, affirm them. I manage my time in ways that protect my peace. Drop the courtroom mindset. You don't need to be proven innocent. You only need to be centered. Every redirection is a quiet reclaiming of power. You're no longer emotionally dragged into their story. You're rewriting the script in your tone, in your tempo, in your truth. Why does this work? Because toxic people expect emotional chaos. But when you respond with calm detachment, they lose the emotional mirror they crave. They can't escalate what you don't feed. They can't manipulate what you don't give away. When you stop playing their game, you don't just change the outcome, you flip the entire board. This is frame control. Not with aggression, not with dominance, but with presence. You're no longer explaining your boundaries. You're living them. Conclusion: you don't need to win the fight, you need to master yourself. Toxic people aren't afraid of confrontation. They're afraid of being ignored. They fear the moment you stop needing them to define your worth. When you go silent, when you stop reacting, when you no longer explain yourself, you don't just reclaim your peace. You reclaim yourself. Stoicism isn't suppression. It's wise selection of who, what, and where deserves your energy. I don't need to win the argument. I just need to not lose myself. The Stoic habit. If this spoke to you, like, subscribe, and comment below. I protect my peace from this day forward.